Imagine sitting down for the CELPIP reading test, feeling completely prepared. You know exactly what each part is asking you to do. You know how to find the answers quickly without wasting time. And when the timer runs out, you feel confident. Not because you got lucky, but because you had a clear strategy from the very first question. This is the approach candidates use inside our CELPIP packages. When they focus on strategic preparation rather than simply studying harder, their scores can transform dramatically. In this video, you'll learn 11 powerful reading strategies that can help you find the correct answers quickly and boost your score. By the end, you'll know how to prepare for the CELPIP reading test. Let's dive in. Tip number 1 is to understand the test format. The CELPIP reading test has 4 parts and takes about 55 to 60 minutes in total. You'll answer approximately 38 questions. The 4 parts are reading correspondence, reading to apply a diagram, reading for information, and reading for viewpoints. The difficulty increases from part 1 to part 4, and the texts range from everyday emails and visuals to more complex articles with multiple opinions. If you don't understand the format, you'll waste precious time figuring out what to do during the actual test. Knowing what to expect in each part means you can go in with a clear strategy from the very first question, and that can make a huge difference for your score. The next tip is absolutely game-changing. Always read the questions before you read the passage. When you know what information you're looking for before you start reading, you can go through the text with a purpose and find what you need much faster. This approach saves you a lot of time. Take a look at this example question. According to the email, what does the writer want the recipient to do by Friday? If you read this question first, you already know to look for a request or deadline as you read, so you're not reading with no direction. This turns you from a passive reader into someone who is actively hunting for the right information. Instead of trying to absorb everything, you're focused on what actually matters for answering the question. This can help you locate correct answers quickly. Tip number 3 is essential for time management. Don't try to read every single word in detail. The CELPIP reading test contains a variety of texts, and you have a limited amount of time for each part. If you try to read and understand every detail carefully, you'll run out of time before you've answered all the questions. Instead, skim and scan strategically. To get the main idea of a passage or paragraph, skim the first sentence and glance through the rest quickly. When you need to find a specific detail, scan for keywords that are connected to the question. This strategy allows you to find the correct answers fast without getting stuck on information you don't actually need. Tip number 4 is super important, and a lot of test takers overlook it. The CELPIP reading test has 3 specific question types. Understanding them helps you know exactly how to approach each question. The first type is general meaning. This is a big picture question that asks you to put together information from a whole paragraph or the entire text. For example, a question might ask, the article is mainly about. For this question type, don't go looking for one specific sentence. Instead, you need to think about the overall message. The second type is specific information. This is a close-up question that asks you to locate one particular fact from one specific place in the text. For example, a specific reason, opinion, or detail. Take a look at this sentence. The community center is open until, and here is the gap, on Saturdays. For this question type, scan for the right section and read that part more closely to find the detail quickly. The third type is inference. This asks you to draw a conclusion about something that isn't stated directly in the text. Many CELPIP candidates find inference questions challenging because you need to read between the lines. For instance, the question might say, the writer's tone suggests that she is something about the new policy. You need to take a close look at the text and use what the writer implies rather than what they say outright. It's extremely important to know which question type you're dealing with before you start searching for the answer. If you know the different question types, you can use the right strategy for each question, which can boost your score significantly. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. Tip number 5 is absolutely essential. Always watch out for paraphrases. In the CELPIP reading test, the correct answer will almost never use the exact same words as the passage. The test is specifically designed this way to check whether you truly understand what you've read. Here's an example. Imagine the text says this: the city announced that construction on the new transit line would be postponed due to funding shortfalls. The correct answer choice might say, the project was delayed because of budget issues. Notice how postponed becomes delayed. Construction on the new transit line becomes the project, and funding shortfalls becomes budget issues. The meaning is identical, but the words are completely different. If you're only looking for exact matches, you'll miss the correct answers. Getting comfortable with paraphrasing is one of the most important skills for doing well in the CELPIP reading test. Tip number 6 is really important because CELPIP reading passages can include vocabulary you haven't seen before. Don't panic when this happens. The key is to use context clues from the surrounding text to figure out what the word likely means. Look at the sentences before and after the unfamiliar word and think about the overall topic of the passage. Then ask yourself whether the word seems to have a positive or negative meaning in that context. Here's an example. Imagine you read this sentence. Despite initial resistance from local residents, the revitalization of the downtown area brought renewed energy and investment to the neighborhood. If you don't know the word revitalization, look at the clues around it. You can see renewed energy, investment, and the idea that something positive happened to the neighborhood. From this, you can work out that revitalization means something like bringing life or activity back to an area. Even if you're not 100% sure of the exact meaning, you have enough to answer a question about it correctly. Tip number 7 is absolutely crucial if you are unsure of the correct answer. Eliminate wrong answers. Even when you're not completely sure of the correct answer, you can often rule out choices that are clearly wrong. There are some common patterns to watch for in CELPIP reading answer choices. First, be careful with answers that are too extreme. Choices that use words like always, never, all, or none are often incorrect because real-world situations are rarely that absolute. Second, watch for answers that contradict something stated in the passage. Third, be careful with answers that mention something from the text, but don't actually answer the specific question being asked. For example, a passage might describe how a neighborhood composting program was introduced in parts of Vancouver. An answer choice might say, all residents in Canada were required to participate. Pay attention here. This answer is likely too extreme. In such cases, take a closer look at the text and check whether the text actually says that. Tip number 8 is something that a lot of test takers don't prepare for specifically, and it costs them points on inference questions. Paying attention to tone. Tone refers to the attitude or feeling that a writer communicates. For example, the writer might be critical, supportive, or skeptical about something. The tricky part is that tone is almost never stated directly. You have to figure it out from the words the writer chooses. This is especially important in part 4, where the text includes multiple opinions about a community issue. For instance, the questions will often ask things like these. The writer's tone in paragraph 2 suggests that she is something about the proposal. Mr. Hassan would most likely agree that to answer such questions correctly, you need to notice specific language choices. Look for words like unfortunately or it is worth questioning whether. Such words signal doubt or criticism. Phrases like a welcome step forward or this approach holds real promise suggest support or optimism. Take a look at this sentence. While the city's new cycling initiative has been praised by some residents, critics argue that the plan fails to address the needs of commuters in outlying neighborhoods. The phrase fails to address tells you that the critics have a negative view. If a question asks about the critic's attitude, you can confidently say it's critical or skeptical, even though the word critical never appears in the sentence. Picking up on these signals is what separates low-scoring candidates from high-scoring candidates. Tip number 9 is a strategy that can save you a lot of time, especially in parts 3 and 4 where the passages are longer. Understanding how informational and opinion texts are typically organized gives you a real advantage. In part 3, the passage is usually 4 paragraphs long, and each paragraph focuses on a specific aspect of the topic. The first paragraph usually introduces the subject. The middle paragraphs go into more detail, and the final paragraph often wraps things up or gives a conclusion. Knowing this means you don't have to search the whole passage for every answer. You can predict roughly where certain types of information are likely to appear. For example, if a question asks about the background or history of something, the answer is most likely in the first paragraph. If it asks about a specific process or detail, check the middle paragraphs. If it asks about a result or conclusion, look at the end. This approach is much faster than reading through everything from the beginning each time. In part 4, the structure is slightly different because you're dealing with multiple viewpoints. Quickly identify which paragraph belongs to which opinion, so that when a question asks what a particular person believes, you know exactly where to look. Don't mix up the different viewpoints. That's one of the most common mistakes in part 4, and it's avoidable if you stay organized as you read. Tip number 10 is simple but really important. Answer every single question in the CELPIP reading test. The CELPIP examiners do not deduct points for wrong answers. This means a guess is better than nothing. If you're running low on time, don't leave any questions empty. Simply make your best choice based on whatever information you have. Even if you haven't had time to read a section properly, you might get lucky. Every point matters when you're aiming for CLB 10 or higher, so make sure you've answered everything before time runs out. This brings us to tip number 11. Manage your time carefully. Time management is something a lot of test takers don't think about until they're already running out of time in the test. You have limited time to complete the reading test, so make sure you don't spend too much time on a question. If you are stuck on a question, make your best choice and move on. If you spend too much time on one question, you won't have enough time to answer the other questions. As a result, your CLB score will go down. Note that being aware of time doesn't mean rushing. It means being efficient. You can build that efficiency through time practice. When you have practiced under real-time pressure before test day, the pacing stops feeling stressful and starts feeling familiar. This can help you feel confident and focused during the actual test. If you're serious about achieving the CELPIP score you need, check out our CELPIP packages using the link below. We'll guide you step by step on how to score high, so you'll feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their CELPIP score too. See you in the next video!